Oh, yo, yo, opa! Hashem admo saive ino chema lavodecho sabeinu baboiker chasdecho neranino v'nismecho b'chol yomeinu uneranino v'nismecho ay v'nismecho b'chol yomeinu uneranino v'nismecho ay v'nismecho b'chol yomeinu ye'ele el avodecho po olecho ba'adocho al b'neihem v'hino yam Hashem elikeinu oleinu v'hino el avodecho po olecho ba'adocho al b'neihem v'hino yam Hashem elikeinu oleinu u'ma'aseh yadeinu koinen oleinu u'ma'aseh yadeinu koineneinu u'ma'aseh yadeinu koinen oleinu u'ma'aseh yadeinu.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's Hakel Unity event, marking the 29th Yahrzeit anniversary of the passing of our revered Rebbe in 1994. My name is Rabbi Yossi Blusovsky, and together with my wife Dina, direct Chabad of Northeast Queens and Bayside, thank you to all of our people for coming tonight. But I stand here tonight representing my dear colleagues, the Shluchim, emissaries of the Rebbe to the great borough of Queens. The Shluchim cover the entire borough, from as far east as Little Neck, south as Far Rockaway, north as Whitestone, and west as Long Island City, as well as numerous other communities within the borough. I will list the Shluchim alphabetically: rabbis and rebbetzins. Block, Chain, Hecht, and Hecht, Mendelson, Ozdeba, Richter, Sarichev, Schmerling, Schifrin, Steinmetz, Tuvel, Weinberg, Wertheimer, Zalmanov, and Zalmanov. Wow. A special thanks to our sponsors tonight, Kaykov Studios, the Bangia family, the Abzev Vikayov family, the Montague family, and the Rothman family. Thank you very much. A very special shout out to the members of the committee who made tonight's event possible. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You'll notice on your tables this lovely magazine filled with wonderful content, as well as the information about each Chabad center throughout Queens. Please take it with you as a memento. 29 years have passed since the Rebbe's physical presence left us, and the pain has not abated. The massive void that we feel every day, not seeing the holy countenance of the Rebbe and not hearing his powerful voice, is unfilled. We are here tonight to join together for an evening of connection and inspiration. Our goal is to come away with a rejuvenated sense of purpose and to pledge to continue and strengthen our mission in Queens to spread the light of Torah and mitzvahs, goodness and kindness to all. As I contemplated tonight's event, I was struck by something incredible. As we are commemorating the 29th Yahrzeit, this means that we are just entering into the Shnas HaShloishim, the 30th year since the Rebbe's passing. This brought to mind an ancient prophecy that I venture to say speaks directly to us tonight. The great prophet Yechezkel, Ezekiel, shares the following prophecy. Vayihi b'shloishim shana, barvi b'chamisha lachodesh, va'ani b'soich hagoyla al nahar kevar, niftechu hashamayim va'ere maris elikim. It came to pass in the 30th year, in the 4th month, Tammuz, this month, on the 5th day of the month, immediately following Gimel Tammuz, as I was in the midst of the exile by the river Kevar, says the prophet, the heavens opened up and I saw visions of God. Incredible words. After the Rebbe's passing, the naysayers, the cynics, the skeptics, they declared the demise of the Chabad Lubavitch movement. How could a movement led by such a charismatic figure survive without him? What we saw and see is Marais Elokim, something godly, something miraculous. The powerful inspiration of the Rebbe has quadrupled the ranks of Chabad Shluchim, emissaries around the globe. At this moment in history, we are privileged to see the fulfillment of the immortal words of the prophet Shmuel Samuel, where he says, "V'gam Netzach Yisrael lo yishaker." The eternity of Israel does not lie. The eternity of the Holy Torah, the eternity of the mitzvahs, commandments, and the eternity of the inspiration of our revered and holy Rebbe live on in a more lively manner, stronger and more active within his followers, all Jews, and the entire world. It is not just the increased number of Chabad emissaries that is so telling. What we are witnessing is how the Rebbe has inspired in this 30th year a massive attitudinal change and shift in how we treat our fellow Jew and by extension all of God's children. The belief in the inherent goodness of every person and their endless potential for good. I believe that many here have seen the clip that has gone viral, how a Chabad rabbi on a flight from LA nudged and cajoled the Jewish pilot to don tefillin, and how the pilot proudly kept the tefillin on his head as he saw the passengers exit the plane. Amazing. In this Shnas HaShloishim, the 30th year, it is up to each and every one of us to step up to the plate, join the ranks of those who go out of their comfort zone and do everything in their power to transform the world into the beautiful garden that the Creator intended it to be. Let us offer a special prayer for the victims and families of today's horrific terrorist attack in Israel and all others in need of a healing. Let us plead with Almighty God that He usher in the utopian era of Mashiach and reunite us with the Rebbe and all the righteous of our people and all of our loved ones. This should be the last Yahrzeit we have to commemorate in exile. Amen. We are privileged to have with us tonight a prominent Queens rabbi, Rabbi Moshe Bamberger, who serves as the Mashgiach Ruchni, the spiritual mentor and advisor of the Lander College for Men, Beis Medrash LeTalmud, where he mentors hundreds of young students. He also serves as a congregational rabbi right here in Queens. He has written many best-selling books for Art Scroll, and he has a weekly page in the weekly Inyan magazine, of which I am an avid reader. He lives with his wife and family and 5 children in Kew Garden Hills. It is a pleasure to call upon Rabbi Moshe Bamberger to offer Divrei Bracha, words of blessing.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Blasovsky. It's a unique and very cherished honor that I was asked to speak here this evening. I will not be long. It's a little bit funny for me to offer words of blessing to such a blessed event at the 29th Yahrzeit of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, whose blessings we know were so powerful. I just want to offer my eyewitness account of what's taking place here this evening. As the rabbi said, I have 5 children. Many of them are teenagers, and I think if they were here, I have one daughter here with me, but I think they would all agree that there is what's called a great vibe in the room. Sometimes you go to events and you don't feel it, and it's not a place that you really want to be. Here you come and you feel a certain joy, a camaraderie, a united spirit. And that, I think, is the greatest legacy of the Rebbe, that he was able to take so many disparate souls, people, and unite them through his blessings and through his promise. I want to tell you the first Torah thought that I ever heard from the Rebbe. I think it's very, very famous, probably that's why I heard it. On Seder night, we know that there are 4 sons. There are 4 sons that the Haggadah addresses, and each and every son has his own unique message that the father gives to him. And the Rebbe said that there's really a 5th son. Where's the 5th son? He's not in the Haggadah. He's the son that didn't come to the Seder. He wasn't there. He decided that he was going to just not even show up. At least the Russia, the wicked child, he's at this table, he sits at the table, and he's at least conversing. He's part of the family unit. But then there's that child that is lost and that's not present. And I think that the Rebbe meant by this idea that it should be all of our mission in life to discover that 5th child, to seek him out, to seek her out, wherever in the world, on the globe, he or she may be. We have to try to find that soul and bring that soul back in. And that's the Lubavitcher movement in a nutshell, always with Avas Yisrael, a tremendous love of their fellow Jews and of all humanity, and they light a tremendous torch for all the world to be able to see through the dark. And we're living in very, very dark times, and we need that light. And my blessing to everybody here this evening is that thank you to all of the shluchim, thank you to all of the Chabad rabbis and their respective communities, and all the people that came here tonight that felt it so important to come representing their own community within the umbrella of Chabad. And it means that you are dedicated to the mission and that you yourselves are sources of light. And my blessing is you should continue to spread that light until the entire world is filled with that special spirituality, that blessing. And we should all join together in the coming of Mashiach, B'mheira b'yameinu, Amen v'amen.
The matriarch of Queens, the late Claire Schulman, invited me to an event a couple of years ago, a fundraiser, and at that event she said, I have to introduce you to this guy. He's young, he's smart, and he is the future of Queens. And that was Donovan Richards. Donovan Richards gets the message of making this world into a garden. Basi Ligani, this is the theme of Chabad, transforming the jungle into a garden. And what people might not know is the very special connection that the borough president has to tonight's event, being that prior to being the borough president, he represented in the city council Cambria Heights, where the Ohel is. It is a tremendous honor and privilege to call upon our dear borough president, the Honorable Donovan Richards.
Whoa, what a great evening to be here to pay homage to someone who's done so much for our community. And I want to start by thanking our esteemed rabbis. Let's give it up for them. Our community leaders and friends. And although I represented Rosedale, parts of Cambria Heights, I do live in Rosedale on 234th Street, so I'm right up the block. So it is truly an honor, and I say that because I know that my neighborhood is blessed, for sure, because the Grand Rabbi is there. So it's truly an honor to be here with you on such an auspicious occasion as we reflect on the teachings of the Rebbe and consider how his legacy lives on through each and every one of us. And I want to, of course, thank my good friend, Rabbi Mendy Heck, my brother from another mother, for inviting me. And thank you for offering such a warm welcome to me. It is a distinct privilege to be in the presence also. I think Rabbi David Lau is here. Chief Rabbi Israel, is he here? All right. He'll be here. But if all goes well, I'll be taking my second trip to Israel just in a few months. And I want to thank the JCRC, who's really been a true partner and friend with me, not only representing Cambria, I represented Far Rockaway too. So it really is a distinct honor to be here tonight. And of course, my prayers are with friends and family members back in Israel. You know, there are people out there who don't believe Israel should be on the map. But let me say this, never again. And when we say never again, we mean that. Israel will exist. We will defend Israel in every shape and form. The Chabad of Queens is no stranger to Borough Hall. And I believe that over the past 3 years, our partnership has continued to grow. See many friends in the room. Every year during Hanukkah, we are grateful that Rabbi Mordecai Heck and the Chabad of Queens grace our front lawn with a huge menorah. And let me say this, when I became borough president, my first event was a Hanukkah event on our front lawn. So I am proud to join many of you at your youth centers for menorah lighting ceremonies that bind us together with our Jewish brothers and sisters, spreading light to all who live in our great borough. In the spring, our Chabad rabbis returned to Borough Hall for Education and Sharing Day, where I presented a proclamation recognizing the meaning of that day. Many of you have stood in solidarity with me on the steps of Queensborough Hall at my rallies against anti-Semitism and hate. And I fervently hope and pray that the day will come when we won't have a reason to hold these rallies anymore, especially in Queens. And after years of planning and cooperation, especially with Rabbi Revson, we know how to come together and accommodate the worldwide pilgrimage to the Rebbe's resting place. Queens is proud to have a special connection to the Rebbe and his followers. Tonight is an opportunity for us to acknowledge the universal lessons that the Rebbe has offered to all of us. How significant it is that he placed so much value on education, particularly moral education. And I'm a person of faith, and I'm in awe of the Rebbe's belief that if you teach a child to be a good person, they will recognize their own potential to change the world. Throughout my career in public office, I prioritize funding to education. Matter of fact, $30 million this year. In addition to supporting our public schools, I defend our yeshivas in Queens. And make no mistake, I don't know what's going on in other places, but I know in Queens I got the best yeshivas, which offer a well-rounded education. So I don't care what the New York Times prints. I don't care what anyone prints. I know my yeshivas in Queens. And when we focus on our children, we can genuinely look beyond our differences and see how much we have in common. We all want our children to succeed, to be good people, to make a positive difference in their families and communities. What a profound vision the Rebbe had. He predicted if we teach moral education to our children, our communities will eventually come together and experience unity, just as we see in this room tonight. Nowadays, it can be challenging to believe in unity when there is so much division all around us. But if unity is to emerge anywhere, it's going to be in the most diverse county in the country, and that is right here in Queens County, where we can celebrate 190 countries represented here, over 360 languages and dialects, and it's why we call this borough the world's borough. So it is great to be here once again as a Rosedale resident. I feel blessed every morning when I wake up. Let me also say this, because there's been a lot of depictions in the media that easily can divide the black community and the Jewish community. But may we be reminded tonight, just as Juneteenth was yesterday, where we celebrated freedom from slavery. And of course, we share that common bond with you because, of course, we lost millions of Jews to the Holocaust. May we be reminded that we must continue to march together, that there would not have been a civil rights movement in this country without the unity between the black community and the Jewish community. So as we say, until all of us are free, none of us can be free. And this is why we will continue to stand with the Jewish community. Anytime anyone thinks that they can attack this community, put their hand on you, I don't care what they look like, where they're from, we will defend you. So it is great to be here tonight. Look forward to continuing our work together with the Chabad, sharing these valuable lessons between our diverse communities. Please know that Borough Hall's doors are always open to each and every one of you. Avi is here. I can see him being like an elected official one day, but I don't know if he wants to do that. But Avi is here. I want to thank him for his work. Certainly a lot of my Jewish staff, all of my Jewish staff, but all of the professionals at Borough Hall who believe in treating everybody with dignity and respect. May the Rebbe's teachings give us the inspiration we need to unite and pursue the path of peace. May God bless each and every one of you. Look forward to the work ahead. God bless you. God bless Queens.
We have prepared for you tonight something very, very special. There is nothing like music to inspire the soul. And we have with us here tonight Aryeh Horowitz, an international singer whose brilliant tenor voice has enthralled audiences throughout the world. His musical repertoire consists of many melodic genres and songs in a variety of languages. As a full-time cantor, liturgical Jewish music is his specialty. He sings Broadway, opera, cantorial, Yiddish, and contemporary styles. Aryeh has performed with some of the world's top Jewish artists, Cantor Helfgott, Mordechai Ben David, and Avraham Fried, as well as others. He currently resides in Boca Raton, Florida, serving as the cantor at Chabad Central Boca. They're lucky. to have you. He has performed in famed venues such as the Berlin Philharmonic Hall, the Nelson Mandela Square Theater in Johannesburg, and has performed the Star-Spangled Banner at 6 NBA games, including the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, FTX Miami Heat Stadium, the Orlando Magic Stadium, and the Vivint Arena in Utah. Sit back, enjoy Cantor Aryeh Horowitz. B'kavod.
Now everybody together, please, if you can. Thank you. This next song is actually in Ukrainian. Now, the Rebbe was born in Ukraine. I understand we have some Ukrainian speakers here tonight. No need to stand up or anything. So, we're going to sing this song. It's called Stavia Pitu. If you know the words, you might find it interesting. But this is, too, a song that the Rebbe taught on the night of Simchas Torah. A very Hasidic niggin. It's about saying l'chaim sitting together. So if there is a l'chaim on your table, I see one massive one here. I'm not sure about the other tables. But yeah, I see some wine. All right, they're all empty. All right, apparently they're all empty. So we're going to say Stavia Pitu. Take it away, Chadi.
Trinken Jain azoi v'mayim Und wir sagen alle zusammen L'chaim
Wer tot
azoi v'mayim Und wir sagen alle zusammen L'chaim
Wer tot Thank you, Chabad of Queens. Terrific.
Our keynote speaker, Rabbi Ephraim Mintz, is the founding director of the Roar Jewish Learning Institute, known as JLI, Chabad's adult education arm, and the largest institute of adult Jewish learning of its kind, with over 1,000 chapters across the globe in I don't know how many languages. He also serves on the executive committee of the International Conference of Shluchim, and he is a dear friend to the Queen's Shluchim.
Good evening, L'chaim, L'chaim. You have wines on your table, I notice, so L'chaim. This week, on every continent, Jews are gathering, young and old, to collectively and individually draw inspiration, as we have tonight. What a wonderful program. Let's hear it to the organizers. What a rich, inspiring program. Like this event tonight, imagine, put your finger on any place on the globe. Imagine tonight and tomorrow and the day after, fellow Jews, our brothers and sisters, are coming together to draw inspiration from the Rebbe, the Rebbe's teachings, and the Rebbe's legacy. But our goal tonight is not merely to commemorate or to celebrate. We're not assembled here to merely salute a saintly figure. Rather than stare over our shoulder and marvel at the Rebbe's greatness, the Rebbe urges us, the Rebbe invites us to climb onto his shoulders and to see ourselves and each other and the world around us through the Rebbe's lens. And my friends, from that magnificent vantage point, the world looks very different. Sunnier, more cohesive, more meaningful, and yes, more possible. So tonight, my friends, I invite you to climb aboard, to calibrate our focus, and to take advantage of our giant's shoulders. You know, one of the legendary Hasidim in the early days of the Chabad movement in America, who was raised and spent most of his life in then Soviet Russia, his name was Reb Shmuel Levitin. He came to America, became a mentor and a teacher at the Chabad Central Yeshiva, and on one occasion the Rebbe sent him, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, sent him to Manhattan, sent him to New York City on a mission. Now imagine the culture shock. You know, back home in the shtetl, Reb Shmuel, this chassid, had encountered buildings only several stories high. But as he stepped out of the elevator onto the 60th floor of the Chrysler building in Manhattan, he gasped. Now, he wasn't impressed by the scene of New York City. What struck him was the profound personal message standing on the shoulders of that skyscraper. And after a few moments, he turned to the young American yeshiva student who accompanied him, and he said, "Dibakuk, take a look. If we raise ourselves from our spiritual present state, the entire world becomes miniature. Indeed, life from up there looks very different. But to the Rebbe, it wasn't up there. To the Rebbe, it was up here, where each and every Jew stands. The Rebbe sought to lift, to pick up, and to inspire, that every one of us should see ourselves and each other and the world from that vantage point. And yes, we gasp. Why do we gasp? Because what once seemed to be dauntingly enormous now becomes insignificant. Miles become inches, obstacles shrink, challenges melt, and the unimaginable horizons become firmly within our reach. When when you lift a child to face level, what does the child do? The child would often grab our glasses and attempt to wear them. The Rebbe, through his teachings and directives, pleads with us to grab hold of his glasses and to see ourselves, each other, and the world around us through his lens. My friends, one of the most painful periods in Jewish history was the period just prior to the Hanukkah holiday. And the Talmud records a profoundly painful and disturbing event, which I want to share with you this evening. Now picture a Greek general riding defiantly on Temple Mount as he steps over the dead bodies of the Kohanim, the priests, and as he defiles Judaism's holiest place, the Beit HaMikdash. But my friends, the Talmud tells us that he was not alone. Alongside him was a Jewish supporter. Her name was Miriam, and she belonged to the Bilga family, one of the 24 orders of Kohanim who served on rotation in the Holy Temple. And you see, Miriam sadly adopted Greek paganism. She married a Greek general and now proudly joined the Greek army as they marched onto Temple Mount, defiling Judaism's most holy place. And listen to what happens now. The Greeks enter the Holy Temple. As they approach the altar, the Mizbeach, the place where Jews would bring their offerings in prayer and in gratitude, listen to what this young Jewish woman does. Miriam, the daughter of Bilga, removes her sandal, the Talmud tells us, and she slaps the altar and declares mockingly in Greek, "Lucus, lucus, wolf, wolf. How much longer will you gobble up the offerings of the Jewish people and not stand with them in their time of need?" My friends, the sages of the Talmud and thereafter never forgot and never forgave this Miriam. The Bilga family carried her disgrace well after the Maccabees defeated the Greeks. Her story has been repeated by the students of the Talmud for 2 millennia, and her soul has suffered the shame all this time. Until, my friends, until 2,000 years later, in 1974, the Rebbe did the unthinkable. The Rebbe reached out to Miriam, dusted off her disgrace, raised her onto the giant's shoulders, and redeemed her soul. The Rebbe publicly urged us to look at Miriam differently. She may have sunken into spiritual depths. She may have married the enemy, and she may have joined the enemy forces as they defiled the holy temple, the Beis Hamikdash. But when she came face to face with the severity of the Greek assault on the Jewish people, she erupted in a bitter cry, the Rebbe said. She erupted in a bitter protest to God and declared, "How can we stand by at the apparent abandonment of the Jewish people?" She slapped the Mizbeach. She slapped the holy altar with her sandal and said, "Wake up, Hashem," as if to declare, how much longer will you stand by and not help your people, Am Yisrael? Where are you when the Jewish people are suffering? That was at the heart of her cry. The Rebbe insisted that her story demonstrates the eternal bond between the Jewish soul and God and her people. All the impurities of the universe cannot weaken this deep-rooted connection. The story encourages us to recalibrate our vision of how to view another Jew, and yes, even a Jew like Miriam, the daughter of Bilga. And in this sense, Miriam becomes the catalyst of this critical lesson. Imagine that. A despised apostate, condemned for centuries, suddenly becomes a valuable teacher in Jewish history, a valuable instructor, Jewish outreach. She tells us, she informs us, and she inspires us about one neshama's potential. It may be buried, she says, but never destroyed. Through the Rebbe's lens, she informs us that no one is irreparable, and we can all be raised onto the giant's shoulders. This, my friends, is the view of the Rebbe of a fellow Jew. And this is how we are taught to view every single Jew in the world. This is why the Rebbe urges us in almost every volume, and there are 370 volumes bringing us the Rebbe's teachings. And in every one of these volumes, the Rebbe urges us to do more, to learn more, to take on another mitzvah, because the Rebbe sees within every single Jew the energy desiring to be expressed. The Rebbe sees an enormous neshama waiting to do more, waiting to climb the shoulders of a giant. You know, the Talmud shares a fascinating story of the famous Talmudic sage Rab Zera. You see, Rab Zera lived in a neighborhood, and in his neighborhood, there were a bunch of Jews, let's just call them, they were frivolous, light-hearted Jews. They were a bunch of bums. The Torah calls them biryonim. Biryonim means not the most prized children of the Jewish community. The rabbis distanced themselves from this group of Jews, but not Rab Zera. Rab Zera reached out to them. Rab Zera engaged with them. Rab Zera, one can imagine what this meant. Rab Zera, imaginally he would deliver matzah before Passover. He would invite them to hear the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. He would bring them Shabbat candles for them to light every Shabbos. He would teach them and their children Torah. Well, my friends, listen to what happens now. Rab Zera passes away. And the Talmud tells us that this group of people turned to each other and they said, now that Rab Zera is gone, we better get ourselves in shape. And to everyone's amazement and surprise, they fully re-embraced the Jewish tradition. They became a shining light in the Jewish community because Rab Zera believed in their potential. They came to believe in themselves. You know, in the 1950s, the then chief rabbi of Romania, the communist Romania at the time, his name was Rab Moshe Rosen. And he had a scheduled meeting, a personal audience with the Rebbe in New York. He arrived early to his meeting. He enjoyed coming and spending time at the yeshiva in 770, and he arrived an hour or so earlier, spending time with the yeshiva students. During this time, a family was leaving the Rebbe's personal study, and the Rebbe notices Rabbi Rosen walking by. The Rebbe motions to Rabbi Rosen to please enter into his study. After all, he was the chief rabbi of Romania. Rabbi Rosen pointed to his watch and says, Rebbe, it's not my time. I'm only scheduled to see you after midnight. I can wait. The Rebbe approached the door of his study and said, how can I allow 20,000 Jews to remain standing at my door? You see, the Rebbe, through the Rebbe's lens, Rabbi Rosen was not an individual, and neither are we. The Rebbe looked at him and saw 20,000 souls, because he was the conduit for the material and spiritual welfare of the Jews in Romania at the time. To the Rebbe, this person's individuality melted into their vast potential. Through the Rebbe's lens, we are standing on shoulders of a giant, inspiring us to ask ourselves, not who we may be today, but who we may become tomorrow. You may have heard this story, but it's certainly worth repeating as we assemble on the eve of the Rebbe's Yahrzeit. In January 1984, there was a Jewish family in the Caribbean island of Curacao. And this family, the Grossman family, was facing an incredible challenge. You see, their children attended the local Protestant school, and one of their children was bullied by classmates and did not want to return back to school. So they kept the child home. However, the government officials met with the family and said, you cannot keep your child home. And the local officials were leveling legal charges against this family. They were lost. They were in despair. They didn't know what to do. Now, unbeknown to them, that week, the Rebbe dispatches a chassid, Rabbi Kotlarski from New York, to visit the Caribbean island of Curacao. Not knowing why he's being sent, he arrives at the airport, and it took 24 hours, but he was introduced to the Grossman family. He, of course, addressed their needs, met with school officials, and eventually that summer arranged for the children of that family to attend a Jewish summer camp in New York, and some of the older children eventually went to yeshiva, and the family was at ease and incredibly grateful. So Mr. Grossman sat down and he penned a letter to the Rebbe. He writes a letter to the Rebbe expressing his deep gratitude and appreciation for the Rebbe's amazing care for a small Jew in Curacao. My friends, as we are about to commemorate the Rebbe's Yahrzeit, I want to take this opportunity to read to you the Rebbe's response to the Grossman family. And I quote, "I must take exception to your referring to yourself as a small Jew from Curacao. There is surely no need to emphasize to you at length that every Jew, man or woman, has a godly soul, which is a part of godliness above. Thus, there is no such thing as a small Jew, and a Jew must never underestimate his or her tremendous potential. Through the lens of a giant, my friends, we all become giant." By the way, in the year 2017, the Caribbean island of Curacao has their own Chabad center, serving every giant Jew on the island. You know what the difference between a Jewish pessimist and a Jewish optimist is? A Jewish pessimist says, things are so terrible, oy vey, they can't get any worse. Comes the Jewish optimist and says, no, they could get worse. That's a Jewish optimist. But my friends, the best definition of a pessimist that I ever heard is a person who complains about the noise when opportunity knocks. One who complains about the noise when opportunity knocks. You see, today's world, as we heard earlier, is a world resounding with noise, with distractions, with commotions. But through the Rebbe's lens, the world is bursting with majestic opportunities. The noise of the world is music of opportunity. And tonight, as we gather at the eve of the Rebbe's Yahrzeit, we are invited to recharge our neshamas, to recharge ourselves and each other through studying the Rebbe's Torah, through internalizing the Rebbe's teachings, through visiting the Rebbe's resting place. You are fortunate, as we heard earlier, you are fortunate to live within reach, within the area that was blessed to have the Rebbe's resting place. Jews around the world, hundreds of thousands of Jews are sitting down today and tomorrow to write letters that they hope would be brought to the Rebbe's resting place. Many thousands of Jews would make the trip from all corners of the world just to spend a moment at the Rebbe's Ohel. And you live just a mile or two or three away. And that is clearly, undoubtedly, a source of many blessings to you and your families. So tonight, let's inspire ourselves and each other. Like the Chassid in the Chrysler building, it's a matter of perspective. Opportunities lie right front and center. And like the Rebbe's letter to the Jew in Curacao, the Rebbe urges us to realize that we are not a body that happens to have a soul. We are a soul that happens to have a body. We are walking, talking, breathing neshamas, and we have the capacity to accomplish the incredible if we only understand and appreciate who we are. I once heard Helen Keller, I believe, once said, worse than being blind is having the gift of sight but losing vision. The Rebbe grants us that vision. My friends, the Rebbe wasn't only the greatest Jewish optimist, the Rebbe was the greatest Jewish opticist. The Rebbe provides us, every one of us, with lens to see ourselves by who we truly are, to see every fellow Jew, and by extension, every citizen in the universe, to be God's agent, to turn what may seem to many to be a jungle, to turn it into a garden. Our own homes, our neighborhoods, our boroughs, our communities, our country, and the world at large. I conclude by urging ourselves and each other. Let us resolve tonight to step out of our comfort zone. Because, you know, to climb onto the shoulders of a giant requires us to step out of our comfort zone. Every single one of us, if we can do something selfless, something for a neighbor, a friend, a family member, or a stranger, let's step out of our comfort zone and do something selfless. And in doing so, we are climbing onto the Rebbe's shoulders. And when we stand on the Rebbe's shoulders, the world looks very different indeed. The world is a beautiful garden. The world is an incredible place to be. And the world is a place that we can celebrate and cherish every moment. So I conclude by giving a heartfelt bracha, a blessing to each and every one of you. First of all, may you be blessed with good health, with gesund, with nachas, joy and pride from every member of your family, with tremendous simcha, with joy. Let us celebrate the life that Hashem gives us. Let us share that simcha with others. Let us raise our glasses l'chaim. Let us merit that as we stand on the shoulders of the giant, we should see, although as Rabbi Bolsovsky mentioned earlier, va'ani b'toch hagola, we may be standing in exile. But my friends, when we stand on the shoulders of a giant, we could see the light of redemption. Let us see that light. Let that light become reality. And may we very soon celebrate, as we heard earlier so beautifully, may this be the last Yahrzeit. And may this be, remember, you heard it here first, that the 30th Yahrzeit is not going to be a Yahrzeit, because we will celebrate with the Rebbe in our hometown, Yerushalayim, the Meheira, the Ameinu, Manish Amen.
Of a giant standing tall, and his son so very small. They shared a dream to see the king. They hungered for the day and hurried on their way. As they neared to despair, a wall rose to the skies above the giant's eyes. "Wait, my son," said he, "climb upon me. After you arise, you will be my eye, and we will do it, brothers. After us, there'll be no others.
You and I will do what giants want to do.
So
Stand